Hey, if you are thinking about moving to Vancouver or maybe you are already here, this video is for you. Uh, and I want you to hear this because this video is not some sort of clickbait, it's not some sort of hype. I just want to talk to you raw. At the same time, walk through with you some numbers, especially on how much you need to be able to live in Vancouver as an immigrant in 2026. And as I talk to you, I have in front of me my laptop, so I'm going to look through my laptop to be able to break this down for you line by line and not leave any information out. My name is Knife, and I currently live here in Vancouver, and I've been here in Canada for 6, 7 years now. And then I've had my experiences, and there are some lessons that I've learned also that I want to share with you, especially when it comes to money and also on how to live a better life here in Canada. And I want to make a promise to you that if you hit that like button and you subscribe to this channel, I'll try as much as possible to bring you videos on how you can help manage your money, how you can make more money, and how you can live a more fulfilling life here in Vancouver or Canada generally, or even abroad. Let's dive right into it. So today I'm going to be talking to you about your rent. I'm going to be talking to you about your food, groceries, transit, bills, and some of the hidden costs that most people always forget about. Especially when you're just moving here newly. Even so many people that are already here, most of the time they always leave out this particular hidden cost, right? And they wonder why at the end of the month they don't have any money, or sometimes 100% of their income is gone, right? There are some hidden costs or hidden expenses that take those money. So I want you to watch this video to the end because uh, I'm sure that the reality will actually surprise you. So the first thing I'm going to talk about today is your rent. Your rent, which is the biggest cost. And I think in any part of the world, especially in North America or maybe Europe, most of the time, the rent always take the biggest chunk, the biggest percentage of your income. So, and like I said, most people always get hit the most when it comes to your rent, and same as Vancouver, because rent in Vancouver is among the most expensive in Canada, if not the most expensive. Don't get me wrong, Vancouver is a very beautiful city, but most of your income, and I'm talking about 60, 70, sometimes 80% of your income may likely go to rent if you don't properly manage and have some information to guide you on how to properly disburse your income to some of these your expenses. uh, and I want you to know that most of this information that I'm actually giving out, you can actually check it online. You can go on Facebook Market if you are looking for a house to rent, or I think there's Zillow websites where you can check these informations. A one-bedroom apartment, especially in this city right now, runs about 2,005 to 3,000 per month. Of course, depending on where you live, you will see mostly if you are living in New West, Burnaby, Vancouver, right, rent can range from 2005 to 3005, right? So but if you choose to live outside, the center, maybe you choose to live outside the downtown areas, you might find something a little bit, cheaper, right? But still, relatively still expensive, because you might see something around 2003 to about 2,600, right? So I still feel like that's still a significant, chunk of your budget, right? So one of the uh, solutions I always provide, or I always refer people to, or I always provide to people, is when you are coming in here newly, you may actually take the options of shared housing, right? And what do I mean by shared housing? Shared housing is you coming in with another person and you sharing the bills, right? So let's say the cost of the house is 2004. You can decide to take that house in maybe a two-bedroom. You can decide to take it together with a friend or together with somebody, that is in need of an apartment or in need of a space also. If you're a student, most students are always looking for a space, right? So you can decide to live with another person and you just share the house rent 1,000 to 1,002, right? So that will help in bringing your cost a little bit down. And if the apartment is 200, or sorry, 2,000, you can share it 1,000, right? So this might helps in bringing your cost to down to around like 1,000 to like 1,500 thereabout. But of course, it also comes with its own problems, right? Because that means you are sacrificing your personal space, right? So you should know that okay, if I want my rent to come down, I may likely sacrifice my personal space. Personal space meaning maybe the living room, the kitchen. Sometimes some houses have like one bathroom, sometimes two, right? So if it's two, sometimes it's more expensive. But if it's one, you may likely sacrifice, sharing your washroom with another person. So that's that about rent. So there's need for you to be aware that rent in Vancouver is really, really expensive. So when you're just coming in and then you have maybe little funds or maybe you don't have much money, you may want to actually look at areas not at the center of the city, maybe areas very far from, you know, from the center of the city. You get what I mean? Some areas in Surrey are relatively they are relatively cheaper to some areas in Vancouver or Burnaby or New West, so to say, right? So the next one I'm going to talk about is utilities and internet. Utilities and internet, right? And I want you to understand that these are the bills that most people forget when they first move here. Even I can tell you that most people when they are doing their budgeting every month, although a lot of people don't do budgeting, especially immigrants. Most immigrants don't do any form of budgeting, right? So, and some of the people that actually do budgeting, most of the time they leave out this expense, they leave out this bill, right? So, which is utilities and internet, right? And to some of you that don't know what utilities mean, utilities is just like electricity, heating, water, even some places where you pay for garbage. And then sometimes, the combination of these can actually cost you around like, let's say $100 to $200 per month, especially depending on the season and depending on the usage, right? Uh, where I live currently, 3 months ago, my electricity was around like 120, 150. But during December period, because I use more heat, right? So I paid a lot, like about $200 per month for that month, especially December, right? And we're in January. And it's still very cold because we are in the winter season. So there's tendency of the money going a little bit higher, right? So you need to take note of that. So whenever you are moving to a place and they tell you that you are going to pay for your utilities, always factor that in when you are renting a place, right? Always put that in consideration when you are renting a place. When they tell you a place is 2,200, always know that what you're going to pay at the end of the day may be around 2005 or 2004, because when you factor in the utilities, that will be around 2004 or 2005, right? That's why for me, whenever I move into a place, I always want to put every one of these numbers into consideration and check if it's best for me or if it fits my budget. I love places that says utilities included. You already know what you are paying for, right? So either the money goes up or down, you already know what you are paying for. So if utilities is included, if you are paying 2002, you know you are paying 2002, right? But if you are paying for your utilities, know fully well that some seasons you may pay low, while some seasons you may pay high. Especially winter seasons, there's a lot of guarantee that you are going to pay high because you're going to be using a little more electricity, right? So, and then no matter the amount of money that you are paying, you still have to add that to the internet, right? Because you're going to pay for internet. You use internet here and in Canada, especially in Vancouver. we pay close to about like $70 to like $100 for your internet. And of course, you have cell phone plan, right? Which you pay for your cell phone plan also, which is around like $50 to like $80. So that's a total of two, 220 to around 380, right? That's on top of the rent, right? Just to just to keep the lights on and stay connected. So you are paying close to about, so if your rent is around 2,200, and then with your utilities, internet, and even your phone plan, you're already getting to like 2,600. So you need to take note of that. Another thing I want to talk about is your food and groceries. Your food and groceries. You see, food is another big monthly item, and if you don't cook at home, um, no, if you cook at home, most of the time, grocery alone typically runs like 400 to like 800, right? That's if you cook at home, right? If you buy your own groceries, if you buy your own food and you make it at home, it's a little bit, cheaper than if you eat out, right? So you may likely pay around like 400 to like 800, right? For one person, right? So, but that doesn't include, like I said, that doesn't include eating out, right? So, because often restaurant meals are a little bit more expensive, right? I'm African, I'm Nigerian, and then if I will have to go out there to buy jollof rice, let's say for example, jollof rice can cost me around $60 or $50 per meal, right? So if I have to do that in a week, let's say I do that for 5 days a week, maybe Monday to Friday, I'm kind of really busy and I can't really make food for myself. That would be around 250, right? Can you see that if I do that for a month, that's about 1,000. So it's not really advisable. So I always try to encourage people, if you know how to cook, try as much as possible to cook more than you eat out, right? You can always eat out maybe once a while, maybe once in 2 weeks or once in a month. Or sometimes if you want to go, conservative and very aggressive in your conservation, you can decide not to even eat out, right? Just make your own meal, right? When you make those meals, you store it in the fridge. And I think that helps in keeping it helps in keeping your budget, or it helps in keeping your expenses a little bit lower, right? Because restaurant meals add up really fast here. So like I said, it's always important if you want to save money. It's so important. Number four that I will talk about is transportation, right? Your to and fro movement, right? So getting around in Vancouver is very easy compared to other provinces like Calgary, Saskatchewan, thereabout. I think in Vancouver we always have it very easy, but it's not free. Although it is easy, it is not free. So a typical monthly transport, public transit pass in Vancouver will cost you around 100 to 170, right? So it's a monthly public pass, right, where you just tap, you buy a card and you tap, you load the card with like store values, or you pay a monthly fee around 100 to 170, and then all through the course of the month, when you enter the bus, you just tap your card, and then that's it. So, and of course, that's depending on how many zones you travel, right? So in Vancouver also we have like zones. So the way the thing is actually structured, um, the moment there are some cities in a particular zone, and the moment you cross, there's zone 1, zone 2, and I think zone 3, and the moment you cross maybe from zone 1 to zone 2, the amount of money that you pay goes up a little bit, right? So, and then if you're using the bus, it's better if you're using the bus, because if you're using the bus, you can actually tap all across the zone and you are going to pay the same amount of money, right? Because you tap just once when you're using the bus. But when you're using the SkyTrain, you tap twice. So you tap at your point of entry and you tap at your point of exit, right? So that way they will know, if you've crossed within a zone, or if you've crossed from one zone to another, right? So you need to take note of that. So uh, most questions I always have is it better to like own a car, right? So for me, I would say owning a car, you must expect like much higher cost, because when you are owning a car, you have to take into consideration, especially, you see, these things, most people, when they get here, they're always very quick to get a car. I myself, I did so also, right? And my reasons to me at that time were valid, right? But the problem for me, I don't have any issue with you owning a car. The problem I have is when you are trying to get a car, you must take into consideration all the factors that includes you having a car. You must take those factors into consideration before making that decision. You must factor in insurance. You are going to pay insurance. If you're a new driver, sometimes your insurance can go really up. Sometimes you can pay like $400 to like $500 if you're a new driver, right? But if you're an experienced driver, maybe you already have like a class 5. Maybe one of these videos I will talk about some of the classes that we have, right? We have a graduated learning, what's it called? Driver learning classes, right? So I'll do a video on that. But like I said, insurance, you have to consider the insurance. So if you go to a dealer and then they are telling you that, oh, you're just going to pay $200 bi-weekly, maybe you want to finance your car and they tell you that you're just going to pay $200 bi-weekly, right? That's $400 per month. You need to factor in the fact that if you're a new driver, you may likely pay an extra $400 of insurance on that particular car, or maybe 350, right? And so that totals about, let's say, $700, $800 per month. So you need to factor in those things. So whenever you're going out to purchase a car or to finance a car or to owning a car, you must take into consideration your insurance. Also gas. You will buy a lot of gas. For my car, I have an SUV, and most of the time in a week, I buy $80 worth of gas inside that car. Most of the time, I always finish it within a week. So if you multiply 80 by 4, you know what you're going to have, right? You're going to have like $320. That's an extra $320. It's expensive to own a car. So, and also maintenance, right? I remember like 4 months ago, I had to take my car out for maintenance and I paid a sum of $2,000. $2,000 just to maintain that car, right? It's crazy. Maintenance, you know. And if you are the type of person that drives a lot, maybe you drive to Vancouver, you drive to Burnaby, all those areas, you have to also factor in parking bills because you're going to be parking. The apartment that I stay, I pay for extra parking. I pay like 130, which of which for me I don't really like. I don't really like that. So, and I'm even considering, finding a solution to that, right? So I pay an extra $130 aside what I'm paying for my house rent, right? So you need to factor in those things. Also, your parking, bills. If you are going to Vancouver, for sure you may likely, pay some parking bills. So, and when you take in all these things, all these factors, when you take them into consideration, you discover that you already have a big bills. You already have a big bill every month. So, like I said, if you're a newcomer, I think most of the time transit is a cheaper option, and it's not just a cheaper option. I think it's a smarter option, right? So number 5, which is very, very important, like I said at the beginning of the video, hidden costs, right? Some people call it miscellaneous, right? I love to call it hidden cost. Those are the expenses, money that goes out of your account or that goes out from you that you may not really pay much attention to, right? So, and in this part, I wouldn't want you to, skip, because, oh, okay. So in this part of the video, I'll be talking to you about the hidden costs that most of you always leave out, especially when you are doing your budgeting. Most of the time you leave them out. Sometimes you don't even consider them. And a lot of times they take a lot of money from you, right, that you don't know. And one of the first hidden costs is your personal care and household items. I can't count the number of times that I always miss this out, even while I do my budgeting. Most of the time, my wife come around to me and be like, "Oh, what about the money for, you know, for the bathing soap, money for personal care, and all those kind of things, right?" But most of the time, I always leave it out, and either you like it or not, those money will go out of your account, right? Personal care, even household items, right? Like your cleaning supplies and everything, right? And sometimes when you total everything up in a month, you have like $80 to $120 going out of your account, right? That is going out of your account towards your personal care. Even for ladies, nails, right? Nails, makeup, and the likes, right? So a lot of, and before you know it, this money, these fees or these bills can actually get to like $500 really quick, really quick. Also, health insurance, right? Health insurance is also uh, another hidden cost that most people don't take into consideration. And sometimes you pay like 70 to like $130, especially if you don't have coverage, right? You pay like 70 to like $130. Entertainment and eating out. I explained this earlier on. Entertainment, most of the time, you have Netflix subscription, you have Spotify subscription, you have Disney subscription, you have Apple Music subscription, you have all the subscription. And when you add all the subscription, you discover that sometimes the amount of money that you are paying is close to like $150, $200. I dare you to go, if you're using Apple phone, I dare you to go inside your phone, go to subscription, and total every money every money that goes out of your account towards your subscriptions, right? Total everything, and I guarantee you most of it, or let me say the total of that amount of money can be the same amount of money you pay for your car, right? So I dare you to go into your phone, just check, and total the amount of money that goes out of your account towards your subscription. Some of you have close to $150, $200 if you total everything that goes out of your account every month towards subscription. So you need to check it also, especially eating out also. For me, I don't even like eating out. But most of the time when I go out to eat out, sometimes I spend like $100 because I'm not just paying for myself, I pay for my wife also. All right. So eating out is also very, very expensive. So especially meetups, right? When you do coffee with people, you pay. When you just do, let's say you just want to hang out with friends, or maybe visit a friend of yours is actually celebrating her birthday or his birthday, you pay. So before you know it, you $300, $400 is already going out of your account. And most of the time, a lot of people don't account for this. They don't account for this. 300, 400, it's gone just to entertainment subscription and just meeting up with friends, doing coffee, um, you know, and just being part of your friend's birthday, right? I'm not saying those things are not good. They are good, but there's need for you to budget those things. You need to factor them in your budgeting. Clothes and shoes. These ones, most times people don't budget this, right? They don't really take this into consideration. And if you are coming to Vancouver, trust me, you will buy some clothes and you will buy some shoes, right? So a lot of times people, you know, almost every month, right? You buy some nice shoes, some nice clothing, right? And then before you know it, 400 to like $100 is already out of your account. For someone like me that loves like suit, I love suit a lot and I love dress shoes. Sometimes I pay like $100 for a pair, just a pair of dress shoes. And before you know it, this amount of money they pile up really fast, right? So, and another part or another section that I want to talk about that most people don't factor in is sending money home. You need to factor in sending money home also. That's another form of, where your money will go, or that's another way where, you spend money, right? Sending money home is very important, I know, but anytime that you making your budgeting, there is need for you to include these things so that you know how much you are spending, right, in a month. So paying immigration fees or even upgrading, so your certification, you know, all these things can add up really fast. So you need to take note of this. Just to conclude the video, there is need for us to actually add everything up, right? Let's add everything up. So realistically, monthly for one person, right? So let's say you have a rent of, let's say, 2,500 to like 3,000. Utilities, let's say utilities and internet plus your phone subscription, so your phone data, like 220 to like 380, right? Groceries to like 400 to like 800, transit 100. Let's say you chose to use the public transit, right? 100 to like 170, and then the hidden costs, right, which is about 150 to like 300, right? So we are seeing a total of 3,370 to like 4,650 per month. So if you're moving here and maybe you're already here, I'm glad to let you know that there is a high chance that you are spending 3,370 to like 4,650 per month. That's a lot. That's a lot of money. All these things I just explained, they are not luxuries, right? These are just bare essentials, right? These are just expenses for living just okay, right? So, and this is even while living alone. So if you want, comfort, and then you want savings or some emergencies, you're going to need more. So if you want comfort, you want your own space, you want to have your own ride, and even some savings. Of course, you want to have some emergency money, all those kind of things. You are going to need more, right? You are going to need more. And let me tell you what this means to you as an immigrant, right? Immigrant, I just want to tell you the reality of things, right? Many people here in Vancouver, they survive by living with roommates, especially when you're just new here. There's nothing bad in that, right? You need to be very much aware about what you are earning. And when you know what you are earning, you'll be able to adjust really well to what you are going to spend, right? So if you earn a little, you may want to consider living with roommates. And some people, most of the time, they always choose a farther, suburb area like Surrey, even some interior Burnaby area, just to reduce rent, right? And some others, like others even also like side gigs, or they work extra hours, right, just to be able to meet up, right? So, but this is the bottom line of things. Having 4,000 to like 5,000 per month, we give you more like a breathing room, right? To give you like a breathing room in Vancouver. So if you have like 4,000 to 5,000 per month, you have a breathing room in Vancouver. In Vancouver. And if you have less, you will likely live very, very tight. You will eat mostly home cooked meals. You will sacrifice, a lot of social life, and even some basics, right? There are a lot of basics that you sacrifice. Uh, if you are planning to move here, or maybe save some money before you arrive, this information is really good for you. So I want you to comment below what part of the budget surprised you the most, and like this video if you found it useful, and I want you to subscribe for more video content like this. And like I said, this is the promise I'm making to you. If you subscribe to this channel, I'll try to bring you informations on how to live a better life in Vancouver and Canada generally, as well as tell you about some common mistakes about money that you may not be aware of, or maybe you're aware of it, but you just need somebody to remind you again and again. All right? Thank you for watching, and then I will see you in the next one.